Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. I am your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted and privileged to welcome a very accomplished film retailer, if I can call him that, Mr. Tushar Dhingra from India. Tushar, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tushar is the founding CEO of Dhishoom Cinemas. He's a tenured retail and entertainment leader. He's the ex-CEO of Smash Entertainment, the Chief Marketing Officer of PVR, and Chief Operating Officer of Big Cinemas. So, Tushar, let's talk about Dhishoom Cinemas. Dhishoom, as I remember from my days, where young days, was the sound that would come when you hit somebody on screen. But tell me about this venture.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Garg. It's my pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you.
I think India is very hot and humid and a very harsh weather. Movie going is the ultimate outdoor, out-of-home activity that any Indian can consume. Dhishoom is, the way I say it is house full of happiness. You come in and you take a mini vacation in an air-conditioned environment. Our boutique theaters provide world-class cinema experience at great value every day. Legacy players today and currently in India are only focused at a top end of the market and only address maybe 115, 120 cities.
Correct.
Where we believe that there are around 5,400 sub-districts of India, and India can, movies can be retailed there. And this used to happen earlier. And that's what we would like to pursue.
Very interesting. And what was your motivation to start this venture, given that you worked as a senior corporate professional with so many different cinemas?
So I think India may, at the nascent stage of the industry, what has happened is that there has been almost an oligopoly of 2-3 players, which have captured large market shares. And the depth and the growth that is available, headroom that is available in the growth is very large. We are around 8,000 screens in India, and compared to what China has is around 40,000 screens. Our film going habits and population density, etc., and socio-cultural penetration of movie going is quite similar to China as well. And as I told you, if you could go to these 5,000 odd screens, and even if just open another 5 screens each, there is 25,000 screens that are sitting there. So I think that there's a big gap there to fill it. And in India, because of the natural resources are fairly dispersed and not available, this is the top going, malls and multiplexes are urban parks where people go and indulge themselves. And there is a big gap. So this gap needs to be filled.
Very interesting. So share with me your growth pipeline and strategy.
So, if I go some years back, Mughal-e-Azam was watched by 6% of India.
Wow.
Today, if a big film comes in and the top grosser will just hit, very low numbers. And the gap is because single screen in the industry had kept on closing down because of lack of maintaining themselves and staying relevant. And multiplexes, as I told you, have limited themselves to reach out to a certain segment of people. So there is a large gap that sits in. When I open a cinema in a city, we just opened a cinema and I heard from a gentleman that, it is 30 years after which I have come to a cinema.
Wow.
Okay. Or somebody will come and tell me that this is my grandson's first film. Because the infrastructure is not there. I think that is where we are sitting at. And cinemas influence fashion, music, you name any industry in India.
Amazing. And how many screens do you have now?
So currently, because of lockdown situation, we are closed down. We have 50 plus screens under development and operations.
So, as you've been building this business, what have been some of your challenges and learnings as you have scaled up?
So having spent some time in this business, I think there are 2-3 things that we needed to solve. And I think, and you've been a retailer yourself, you would understand how to handle high capex to begin with. I think we have worked on it and substantially have found a way with our technology to be 30 to 40% lower in terms of our capex to legacy players. We are also differentiated in terms of our approach or go-to-market, as I just spoke to you earlier. Thirdly, we clearly believe that it doesn't have to be, working at a 30% occupancy that works. You can work, a higher level of occupancy to get better returns for our investors and great value for our consumers. And that means providing value at a particular point. So if you get the right capex, if the capex level is low, if you are on a great value everyday level, and you're providing world-class cinema experience. Now, the question would be, what is that? 90% of India and Indian screens are working on, projectors which are powered by lamps. These are digital lamps, but they're still powered by xenon lamps. So they go through an analog, journey of luminancy and goes down. What we are doing is, because we've come in now and we have the benefit of the technology. All of our cinemas are laser, with laser projection, even in the smallest town. So today you may have Vasant Vihar, which will have a laser projection, but my Jhunjhunu in Rajasthan, or Harda in Madhya Pradesh, or Paonta Sahib in Himachal Pradesh, which will be their first multiplexes for sure, would have these experiences.
Amazing.
And when I use the word boutique, I meant I'll give you a vibrant ambience that you will really feel alive, that you come to a cinema and enjoying yourself.
Fascinating. So, Tushar, let's talk about the economics of cinemas. Bollywood, films, Hollywood, cinema theaters are very, very aspirational for all of us as Indians. As you said very rightly, it's a great place to get away and, leave all your troubles behind. So, but yet the economics is, someone wonders a film has failed, someone wonders a film is a big hit. So let me ask you by segment, what are some of the economics challenges and what works, what doesn't work? How does it work with film distributors?
So I think multiplexes and the kind of Dhishoom and other players, we work on revenue sharing basis with our content providers. So that means if there are 100 people who come in, we will pay a revenue share for the 100 people, admission price that we would have charged. So there's no fixed charge whatsoever.
Okay.
The good part about our business is we don't have to try very hard to create sales. Because Salman Khan or a Spider-Man or an Akshay Kumar does that for you.
Correct.
So you would need to just create a great, facility. You need to be, big on hospitality and consistent in your efforts. Rest comes through for you.
Very interesting. And, if there's no Salman Khan or an Akshay Kumar or some senior Bollywood or Hollywood star, and a film does not do well, what happens to economics then?
So you would tend to have, so currently what is happening is India produces large number of movies and then that we all know of. Typically on an every week, you have 4 or 5 films, if I just consider only Hindi.
Wow.
Segments where there are, if I go to, let's assume, a Karnataka or a Kerala, where Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, and English also comes and plays a part, it becomes a little larger pie to kind of service. Also, as a film exhibitor, what you need to do is understand your geographical catchment and then decide will this be a 10 screen location or a 2 screen location, keeping in mind content as well as the catchment that you're trying to service, and then you go out in the market and build it. To answer your question, will there be duds? Yes, there will be, but it works on a portfolio basis. As many duds that are there are few blockbusters like Andhadhund or Uri, which were just sleeper hits, and they just make up for all of this.
And very often you see a film doing very, very well, and then suddenly it goes away. And people, me as a viewer, says maybe the whole owner had another contract with someone. How do you tackle something like that?
It's a balance, quite frankly. So, it's an engine. Theatrical engine is fairly well planned in advance, and it's fairly well announced. It is not that, tomorrow a big star or a big studio will come and say that, hey, listen, I have a surprise movie release to do. There are commitments in place and the contracts are in place.
Correct.
So you work with that. Also, I think the problem is this limited capacity that we are talking about. You and I live in Gurgaon. We have fairly, we have quite many movie theaters around us. But go to a small city which only has one cinema, or do not have a cinema. That becomes a stronger challenge.
Correct. Very interesting. The other thing that has always fascinated me is the amount of real estate and the value that all of you put into interiors. How does that work out with such a small tickets price?
So I think that is where the challenge and the opportunity lies.
Okay.
Right. Cinemas add a lot of value in irrigating footfalls to a mall or a shopping center. And that is what is being recognized by a lot of real estate developers. And they consider doing that. So Dhishoom's first leg is to look at and create either a completely asset light model, or create structures where developers are also participating in that space in a much higher degree. And we now post-COVID see a lot of other players, and my industry colleagues also following the same direction. Now talking about the ticket pricing, I think it is about our perceptions are getting defined by few locations where we live.
Correct.
If we go deeper, that is not the case. If we go to South India, an average occupancy for the industry, if I may say, not a single theater, would be around 55 to 60% per annum.
Okay.
If I go to North India, that is around 34 to 35%.
Wow. Okay.
So that is the gap. So if I can sweat my assets well, I can do a lot more. Now, I believe Dhishoom Auditorium is a connected device. It's a connected box. I have this infrastructure. Can maybe a pharmaceutical company do their sales and marketing activity in our space? Can an edutech company do a consumer, connect on a weekly basis? Can an aisles preparation be done with us? There are a variety of ways and means that you could utilize our auditoriums. And that is what Dhishoom's second layer of revenue also stands at.
Fascinating. I never thought of it like that. But you're right. I mean, you have all the provisions to be able to have a corporate conference there as well.
Yes.
Fascinating. But Tushar, given the pandemic for almost 2 years now,
yes,
and the work from home and therefore entertainment from home,
yes,
and the proliferation of OTT platforms, how has that impacted cinema viewing in a theater like Dhishoom or the others?
So, so it'll be hubris to say that, we survived VHS, we survived DVD, we survived cable television, etc.
Correct.
OTT provides a certain level of value, entertainment, and convenience. Okay. But I have always believed to play with your strengths. And what is our strength is maybe giving all of us, if nothing else, a digital detox. You come and take a vacation in my cinema.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
You're not bothered by phone calls. You don't have maids bothering you, anything. Number one. I think there is a lot being spoken about the immersive experience and all that. I think one part people tend to undervalue is the collective energy that comes in a cinema space. It's like, Mr. Garg, you are well-placed individual. You would have, I'm sure, cooks working for you, but you may be ordering in. You may be going out because you are seeking new experiences and social experiences. So a joke lands a lot better in an auditorium than in a small screen.
Well said.
So people tend to come out for that reason. So this OTT versus cinema, I think, is an either-or conversation, number one. Number two, I think there are 2-3 things we need to do as an industry. I think the small set of OTT viewers in India, the affluent ones, have seen a lot of content. So their expectations on content, it has gone up. So zeitgeists of today would need to deliver better content.
Correct.
The storytelling has to be superior.
Very interesting.
Some content would be only could be very easily watched at home, and people may not come for those to cinemas. And I think that change you would see to happen, and you would see a lot more tentpole films to come in, event films to come in. So I think that is one side. The production side of it has to be done. Secondly, I think we need to create experiences.
Correct.
And if I may, take it from what Disney does, create an experience where magic stays. You forget everything. You come in here and enjoying yourself. If you could create that, I think we would add value to our consumers' life. So create experiences, any kind of experiences. That is why I use that boutique word. That it is curated experience. It is vibrant. It is chef-driven menu. It is about giving you that comfort that is required, giving you content maybe that you did not expect to have. All of that together, it is not one thing that would add together.
Correct.
And if I can solve that distribution problem of being in a small town, and I gave you 3-4 names, they don't have much to do. Even if you would go to if you ask, let's assume, somebody from Domino's, they would say that their tier 2 or tier 3 outlets get 60 to 70% as in-store eating instead of delivery, while they are known for delivery formats. Because it's all about social, connect. I think that is what we'll need to kind of.
Right. When you're so right, from a personal note, I'm a voracious OTT consumer, and yet I do miss going for the 2.5 hours to a cinema hall where there's no phone, there's no one saying pause kar do thodi der ke liye and let's do something different. I miss that experience. So you're absolutely right, and I think it's a matter of time before the cinema halls are full again.
So the early releases that have come in now, whether it was Spider-Man or a Pushpa or 83 and other films, have done considerably well across. Spider-Man is the biggest grosser in last many years to come. One more thing, the purpose of getting dressed up and going out, there is an appointment viewing. There is a pleasure to that.
Correct.
When you go for a date, you enjoy yourself. You maybe just watch the whole film. In OTTs, you just tend to leave them.
Absolutely. Well said. So there is another discussion that keeps happening, that cinema hall owners make more money from food than from actually exhibiting the film. I'd love to get your perspective.
So I think it is a chicken and egg situation. If you don't have chicken, you don't have the egg.
Correct.
So I think the combined economics work. You support each other. I think what is happening is that cinema food, they are priced at a premium, but the experience needs to be heightened too. Right? So that is what I think is a big opportunity that stays. While they, as a combined, on the economic side of it, yes, together it make the whole, the retail operations work.
Yeah.
But you need to really sell almonds at 199 rupees instead of selling popcorns at 499.
Well said. Well said.
By the way, we do that.
You do? Okay. You do? Well, that's a huge positive, because everyone who buys a big box of popcorn or a big bowl of popcorn always says too expensive, but yet they consume it. So it's fantastic to hear what you're saying. Tushar, my next question is on multiplexes, and these are relatively young in our country, 25 odd years maybe.
Gee.
How have multiplexes changed the viewer experience, and what is the future of single screen cinemas?
So I think we have had 2-3 parts of when 1997 first multiplexes came into India. They were correcting structural issues, and that was happening around the world. Earlier, cinemas were large in size and capacity, and there was a reason behind it, that analog print was costly to procure, and you needed to sweat it out for larger audiences to get the money out. And since there was no digitization and hence piracy was fairly low, this format used to work. And always, if I may just kind of input one more thing, cinema was always a working class medium.
Correct.
Which is not today. Today, it is an elitist medium.
Okay.
Which needs to change dramatically, because if you are only serving the uber rich, this is where the gap is, right? And you go across the world, that is what it was serving always. And this is what cinema was. Theater and opera was the art form for people, and the, common things. Going back, sorry, I just kind of digressed. So that was the reason the capacity was large. And come to, years when the prints were becoming cheaper, the average print runs went higher, etc., etc. The facilities of single screens went through a downward trend because of the piracy, which was very high at the VHS stages of it. And people stopped going to the cinemas because the content, the projection and the light and the sound and the overall experience and upkeep was weak. And it made a lot of people to stop going to cinemas. And hence led to a smaller format of multiplexes, which had smaller, seating capacity, better sound, better, projection facilities, and that started germinating. That was one leg. The second leg came in when analog turned into digital. It was sharper imagery, and everything else of these economics of multiplexes stayed with you. So single screens on an yearly basis are shutting doors for a variety of reasons.
Okay.
One is that they are sitting on prime real estate, which could create a lot more value for the landlord or owners. Secondly, they need to kind of reorient themselves to be in newer formats that are acceptable to the consumer today. So that is secondly that is happening. So when you hear that for many years, cinema exhibitors like me are saying that we have between 8,000 to 9,000 screens, there are 300, 400 screens of multiplexes get added, but 800, 900 of single screens which are getting closed.
Okay. I understand. And Tushar, my last question to you, I would have loved to carry on this conversation for much longer because it's so interesting, but time constraints. My last question to you is that most of the owners like you have started going into content creation. So the large chains have started producing their own films. Do we see a Dhishoom Productions coming up sometime soon?
I think storytelling is a very unique skill. And we will be very happy to stick on solving this large gap between what we have to deliver to India. If we can create these happy moments in our consumers' life across India, there is a lot to be done. My lifetime can just be consumed in doing just that. So we'll be fairly focused on that, sir.
Okay, fascinating. Tushar, on that note, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for talking to me at length about Dhishoom Cinemas and, more importantly, educating me and I'm sure all our viewers and listeners on the economics of films and the film distribution and film viewing. And thank you for talking to me about how the entire experience of going to a cinema is like a date. Dress up, go out, and when you were talking about it, it has always been an event, even in my life. Even if my wife and I are going out, it's an event. You plan, get dressed, get into the car, go to the theater. So it's amazing what you're doing. Thank you for bringing back the joy in the mind, in the eyes and minds of so many people around the country. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you so much. My best wishes.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.